Cue jingle.
Yeah.
We need to sort that out, don't we? I say it every time. Number
Yeah.
6.
Number 6. I'm excited. And I'm also a bit like, oh God, number 6. That means we've only got like 3 more to the end of the year.
Nuts.
Yeah.
I know, it's fun. I love talking about community. You know, it's something that we have been, you know, as an expression of Always Better Than Yesterday. Always Better Than Yesterday as our business started as a community. Now, when I reflect on that, there was never really intention to be a business. It was always community first. And I think, you know, if I was ever asked about the origins of it, I think it's about community rather than customers. I think we've talked about this before.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just reflecting on it as we say, like, because because many people get confused when they go into business. They think they have to have a Facebook group and a podcast. like someone must be coaching them out there somewhere going, if you're in a business, you need a Facebook group and you need a podcast. I'm like, I just did it the other way around. I had the other 2 first.
Those first and grew from that.
Yeah.
But I think it's like, again, something we've probably touched on before though. I feel like in doing it the way around that you've done it, you've then brought the right people in that have seen the value in what you do, and then you've built up the trust, which we've spoken about before with those people, which has then allowed them to then go on and utilize the services and things that are on offer. And that just seems like a far more a much gentler or kinder way of approaching things, I think.
Well, I think it's just the way the world works. It's relationships first, isn't it? Relationships. I've got a couple of things I want to talk about today, Abbie. What's on your list? What sort of things do you want to talk about today?
Well, something that's come up for me this week, I was reflecting on our coffee meet up that we had last week here in Wiltshire, and the idea being, I think it was a comment that someone had probably made or shared on a post reflecting on the event themselves, of the bringing of people together. And realizing that community, I think historically, I just need to change positions, bear with me. Community historically might have meant like a physical space, but whereas I think for us it's very much about the people that are there and the experience that we're creating. And how I feel how important that is, and the fact that we can then take that with us wherever we go, or that can be replicated really easily, I think is amazing. I
mean, I think we touched on this a few episodes ago about the idea that years and years ago they used to call them community centers. So the idea of a community would be very much a space and a place, which I think we've adapted. You know, when we talk about becoming a greenhouse, I think that's what, I guess, makes community possible, isn't it? It's creating that environment for connection within, because what did I say the other time? It was community, to be with each other as one, from unity.
Yeah, and I think as well that we're replicating the experience that people have with us, aren't we, wherever we go as well. So it's understanding that I think community then is made up of the people, who they are, what they do, what they bring, and then from our perspective, the experience that we're trying to create when we are gathered together.
Love that. When the outside world becomes an expression and representation of what's on the inside. So one of the things, I want to talk about our Freshers Fair that we went to, because that's one of our first real, shall we say, footprints or heartprints within the local
community, haven't we?
Local community, but a particular aspect, a particular subsection of the community, which is college students, because we have only ever been in the corner of, 16 to 18-year-olds. Probably if a parent has gone, hey, this is useful, like,
yeah,
because
can you have a
traditionally,
chat with them or whatever? Yeah,
yeah,
can we have a meet up and things like that?
yeah, because traditionally, the average podcast listener is between 25 and 40.
Mhm.
So that's been our section, leaders, parents, and the good like. And we've been into some primary schools here locally, so we've tapped into some of the younger generation. But I really enjoyed the fact that we got invited to a Freshers Fest. So I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
But on the banner that we presented, one of our words talked about like-hearted. We're all an organization that all about connecting like-hearted human beings. So for our community to represent on the outside what's on the inside, we have to find out what's on the inside, right? And I think it's the values that we represent.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the strengths that we touched on as well, because
Yeah.
I don't think those are always visible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it was, I don't know how going forward again that we might represent energy in what we do as well, because I really felt like there was, well, I mean, there's always exchanges of energies, right? But the people that just chose to stop and sit with us and have discussions with us, there was very much that exchange of energy with them that made us tune into them, and that they were the people that needed our support at that time. I don't know if I'm articulating that
Yes.
in the right way, but yeah, so that was what was really interesting for me as well in doing that kind of sort of outreach work, is that we were able to use our experience and our energy to focus in on those that really needed or really wanted to find out more about themselves and also about what we do in that moment of time.
One of the things I think we represented in that room, because we were in the corner, coming, as soon as you should come through the door, we were very strategically positioned so that you could see her. And in the corner, we had our banner, which has got a clear, big blue love heart at the top of our banner. For me, that's our Batman signal, right?
Yeah,
so it represents love. And, someone once said to me on the podcast is that, people are searching for love. People are searching for love. So when you become the embodiment of love, people are searching for you. And I think that's what we're able to do as a community, is by our presence, even when we're at Loudon's in the coffee shop with our t-shirts on, with the blue heart on, when we've got the banner up in the college, we become something that intuitively people go, aha, there's something different about these people. And then what I really recognize is in a group of kids that come and stand around our stall, you can see the one or two that are a little jittery, that they want to stick around for a bit of a longer conversation. They almost want you to go first. Like, there was many opportunities where the kids presented themselves, but we had to make the first move because there was a bit of like, oh, I'm not really sure what this is. And I don't want to think my friends are going to think. I don't want to. Tell us about some of those experiences that we had with them, those young human beings.
Yeah, it's amazing. So yeah, that first one that springs to mind was a young lady that came through with a group of friends.
Yes.
And initially, obviously, you tend to have the ones that are a little bit more outspoken and will engage. But I think us being the people that we are, we zone in on those that we can tell are there and they want to get involved, but they're not quite sure how. And so she was in my periphery while I was sort of establishing a conversation with some of the others. And yeah, I could see that she was a little bit anxious, a little bit nervous. So I switched my questions to this young lady in particular. I thought, right now I'm going to focus in on you, because I can tell that you're going to benefit from someone hearing you and seeing you. And as I was asking more questions, I could just sense that she was getting calmer. And then we sort of spoke about what we were there to offer that day, and her face just kind of like lit up. And I was like, oh, well, go take a seat, have a little look, see what you think. And I know, and then I could hear, as you were sort of having a conversation with her, all the language and the words that she was using were just all the things that gave me goosebumps at the time, I remember, because I was like just hearing all the right kind of language coming from this like young person, and it just made me think, brilliant. Yes,
you remember some of the words?
I think she was definitely, she brought up talking about doing something because it felt right in her heart. and things like that. That was the big one that jumped out at me.
Being a good friend
and that she wanted to support other people as well.
Insightful, because she likes to learn things to help her friends who are struggling with certain particular things.
Yeah. And then we were able to obviously turn that around and talk about that being leadership, and that's what leadership looks like. And they were
really?
they're like, what?
Oh, really?
Is that right? You know?
Do you know how valuable that is? Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, my friend.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was really special to be in that environment, to be able to offer those kind of conversations and help them realize those things. So yeah, really, really good. And just again, I think a certain presence that we have when we're in a room like that really worked to bring one young lad over to chat to us. I remember he just walked into the room at the time, and he was the only student in the whole space. And there were different conversations going on at different stands and stuff, but I just sat there and I thought, he's going to turn around in a minute and I'm just going to smile at him. And that's all I did. And then he just walked over. And that was all that was needed to instigate a conversation that led.
It's funny, isn't it? Because that energy, right? That smile of energy can repel people, because it's like, oh, no, exposed. I've been seen. Abort. Whereas that one was like magnetic. So even this talk of energy, it's like, put out the energy, because that's what we put out, and it will attract the right people. Like, forget whether that kid turned and followed or what. That was just, we were sticking a beacon out.
Yeah.
And this is why you now know, reflecting retrospectively, is because he matched that energy.
Yes.
And it was like, he needed that. It was like, of course he needed that. Like, we can overthink it, but it was just meant to be in that moment. Why? Because it just happened.
Yeah, it was beautiful. And we had a great conversation. I actually gave him a hug.
Yeah.
He was the only one that day.
With permission.
Yes, I did ask. But again, as it's funny, like, they just needed that space to again realize that they could openly talk how they wanted to talk and express themselves the way that they wanted to express themselves. They're quite tentative to start with, but the more that we gently asked questions and things like that, they were able to express themselves. And that was what was also really beautiful, was that it just kind of like emerged. It was really, really nice.
Lily says that she's going to jump on. Nathan says he wished he could be here in person. So have a great day, Nathan. Good to see you, brother. Yeah, I love that. It was great to be a presence in the local community, and I just think one of the things that I also reflect on looking around at the various stalls is it reminds me of what Neil Donald Walsh was saying to me about how we're all expressions of the divine, in a way that we come to experience ourselves through other people. And we were all there as various different agencies trying to help young people. Whilst we were all offering different services, there was no competition. It wasn't like, come to us. It was all like, here's our artwork, and this is the specific bit that we nudge kids forward with. Here's our artwork and how they nudge people. And it was all about, for me, visibly seeing how there were so many organizations out there that really are trying to support, empower, and uplift the next generation.
And that in itself is community, isn't it?
Right. Because we need each other. We don't have all that we need. Like, I'm no good at some of the stuff that other services are offering, and there's a reason why we're good at what we do. We're passionate about what we do, and there's something for everybody.
Yeah. Marcella's just saying, can she ask, this is very positive and lovely, how do you deal with negativity in a group? Do
you want me to take that?
Yeah, go for it.
So John Gordon, who's been on the podcast a few times, he has a book. I can't remember what the book's called. I think it's called like the no complaining rule. And he gives a guide that there are kind of 3 ways that you can deal with negativity. One is that there is people just don't know better, but they see something that could be improved. That they don't like something the way that they is. They don't quite have a solution. So what we as leaders and people can do is we can try and at least step into, what is it that they're making us aware of? The gift is, okay, maybe there's something I can do differently. Maybe there's something I can improve. That's kind of step number one. Step number two is like, what's your solution? If you've got something negative and there's a complaint, what's your solution? That's even more important, right? We've got to welcome that kind of feedback because it gives us opportunity to reflect and learn and improve and grow. The third one is mindless negativity. It's mindless. It's a reflex. It's negative for the sake of being negative. And the question being is, are you okay with that? You get what you tolerate. So John Gordon says, if you don't want that, then invite them to take a step off your bus.
Yeah.
He says that on one of his, on the energy bus, one of his rules is no energy vampires. And ultimately, it's, can we transform that negativity? Can we transform it to get some positive improvement solutions? If it is mindless, then we've just got to either accept it and know that we will be energetically less, because the vampire will drain us, or we cut it out. That's my view.
Yeah, I think we can very quickly decide whether the emotional, the energy that is being presented is within alignment with what the experiences that we're trying to offer. And I guess if it's not, then that's where we start to question. I think the best way is to ask questions and to help discover whether that this is the right place for that person or not, and then guide them to somewhere else that might be for them. If this isn't the space, we can't fight negativity with negativity. I think it's just it's redirection as well, isn't it?
And then if you really want to be a master, Jesus' last words were, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Basically meaning, if they knew better, they would do better.
Yeah.
So we can have some compassion to say, all right, cool, that's just their worldview. Can I love you anyway?
Yeah, 100%.
Without it being to our detriment. Should we welcome Lilli for an introduction?
Yeah,
First time she's been on the podcast.
Please do.
Are you there, Lilli? There she is. Hi, Lilli. You right?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
How exciting is this?
It's very exciting.
Good to see you.
Thank you for being here.
For those of you that might not know who you are in our community, would you please give us a quick 20-second introduction? Actually, don't do that. Don't do that. Abbie, can you please introduce Lilli?
It always puts me on the spot. Well, I've known this gorgeous human being for several years now, and she is consistently growing and evolving, and is currently supporting people in the world with her intuitive singing and healing through using your voice. And I have experienced this firsthand and can say that if you want to explore what you can do with your own voice, but also how sound healing can benefit you, this is definitely a person that you need to go and have a conversation with.
Feels nice, doesn't it?
Love it. Thank you, Abs.
Sorry.
Lilli, this is our 6th episode. Abbie and I come on once a month, and we talk about community. You're in multiple communities. You have a community. How would you simply describe what community means to you?
I feel like community is the way forward. I think it's the way the world was always supposed to be. And I feel like there's been a huge undoing of this. I call it the guru syndrome. It's not to say there aren't gurus, but there are lots of self-appointed gurus who have propped up over the years. And I realized for myself that I'd been in so many rooms and in so many communities actually that felt like they were inspiring me, but there was always this undertone of, but you're not there yet. And so so you think you're getting all fired up, but there was this underlying thing of, oh, but I'm not that person. And I think for me, community it's true community. It's not about having a chosen few who have been anointed and sent down on a golden light bulb. I just think I'm just all about, and I've always been about celebrating everybody, meeting people where they're at. You were saying earlier about negativity, and even that, often negativity breeds from insecurity and lack of self-belief. And if someone hasn't been nurtured, if somebody doesn't understand their value, that can cause them to act in a negative way towards someone who seems to be in their power. So say power. And I've just always been about kind of saying, okay, well, and you said it as well, Ryan, you said, that you know what you're great at, and you also understand that there are things that you don't shine at, like, and I love that saying about a fish and climbing a tree, like
100%.
And it's true. Like, if somebody hired me to do their accounts for their business, they'd be sorely disappointed. But if they want me,
and legally at risk,
oh God, and all the things, But I think that's the point of community. A real community means that if everyone is celebrated, then everybody gets to bring their magic, and then the whole community thrives, because no one person is trying to do that. And also, on the flip side of that, we are no longer putting ourselves under pressure to try and be all of those things. Try and go, oh my God, I've got to do all of these things and be all of these things. No, know what you're good at, understand your strengths, honor your weaknesses, be open to learning, and love people, meet them where they're at, and let everyone have the moment to shine. I feel like I've come to this planet at the right time.
Yeah, some might say we chose to be here at this time.
I 100%. Well, yeah, 100%. We could go into that whole conversation. But I sometimes wonder why I chose to do it, but yeah, I do think we did.
Well, my last podcast guest said that our whole life is about trying to remember, which is the most sadistic game I've ever heard. We forget. So the whole of life becomes a remembering.
I have this theory. I've said this to so many people. I'm like, what if? And and here's the thing, right? Nobody actually knows. We only know what we believe in our heart, and we only know what feels good. But I'm like, what if there was this? What if we were all these golden balls of energy bouncing around in the ether, and and this community group kind of went, I know. What if a bunch of you go down to this planet Earth, and you're going to wear these meat suits, and you're going to expand and evolve, evolution and all of this. And we were like, me. And then as we were firing down to Earth in our bodies, they were like, oh, by the way, when you get there, you'll have no idea who you are, why you're there, like what you're doing. And I'm like, that's life, right? That is life. And that's so true. The whole point is trying to remember.
So I want to play with the metaphor of sound. And there are some real words that are intuitively in plain sight, right? So we emit a frequency. Mm-hmm. And then when we match certain frequencies with other people, that's called a harmony. Mm-hmm. So we can be in harmony with both ourselves and then other people. And then when we bring in a range of those things, we call it a symphony. And I think that's what a community is. It's like we come to contribute the only frequency that we can possibly do. This is the symphony remains incomplete without our one particular note, right? And I think that's our mark on the symphony. It's like we come here to join the song, and universe means one song. One song. So I think we're here to contribute to that with whatever note that we've been given, in harmony with whatever section we're supposed to. That's my metaphor anyway.
I love that so much. Yeah. Perfect.
Abbie, let's just pick up on what Marcella said. She talks about a lot of people are isolated. Isolated. Who is it said that basically, like, in years gone by, when you're cast out into exile, that was like effectively casting you a death sentence. Cutting you away from the tribes, cutting off all your resources, cutting off all your survival. So the literal isolation is what will cut us off with the death of us.
I just think that, well, I mean, I'd imagine we've all seen it at some point, if for whatever reason, particularly of maybe an older generation, people that can't get out as much for various reasons, they do start to feel that isolation. But then I've seen examples of that then the people that are able rally around and go to that person. And I think that's like how we started this conversation, is that community doesn't need to be a physical space. it's the people within it that can go to anywhere and offer what they have to whoever needs it. So maybe it's having a better understanding of that and how we can actually put that interaction, you know, rather than it like there being a physical space that people have to go to.
Where do people start?
Where do people start? Gosh, you just have to go do it.
Right.
You have to show up. Go back to my example of the soup kitchen from a few years back. I was looking for it and it wasn't there, so I had to go create it. And then it transpired from there, and now there's the lunch and everything that's in place, and people do actually have a physical space to go to, but they also know that they have people that come to them regularly to support them. So I think, yeah, you just have to start. You have to look and see what that need is, because it's going to be different for different people, and if you can be flexible with what you offer, or find somebody that can offer specifically for that person or people group, go do that.
I think that kind of reflects what Marcella said in the comments, which is around, you know, community is important, but not everyone has a loving family. Some people can be negative, and I think what you've just said is sadly true, is that often those people who don't have that great community often become great community builders. It's almost like they create the family, they create the community. You know, I guess it's pain to purpose. It's like bittersweet, but like, what do you think about that? Because I think the reason I just said that is because you said I went to look for it and it wasn't there, so I created it.
Yeah, it's very much, and yeah, so I'm not saying the words now. I'm just thinking about without getting upset. Yeah, I think in the trickiest of times, you have to think about what you need as much as what someone else might need. And I think probably a lot of what we all create is probably from something that we actually need. And then we realize that it will benefit others as well as we go along. And yeah, I think it was, for me, reflecting back, it was during lockdown. So I was very much at home on my own with the children. I needed adult conversation and contact and stuff as well. And the best way I knew how to do that was by connecting to people through food. And then I thought, well, who else would benefit from this offering? And that's how I ended up doing what I was doing. But yeah, it's very much, it was something that I also needed. I needed that connection. I needed that those conversations, and in my life as well.
Can you read that quote from Marcella while I just search something?
She says, I agree, the broken child fixes many.
That's an empowering statement, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a phrase that I'm trying to find. I wrote some notes down. I've been listening to David Hawkins' third book, The Eye of the Eye. It might be the second or third book. So he's famous for his power versus force and mapping out consciousness levels through kinesiology. And in The Eye of the Eye, he says that the self in me seeks to connect with and heal the self within you. So when we take the idea that we all come from the same source and the same spirit, the thing that makes me, I recognize that in you. And then when I heal that in me, I seek to do the same and connect, which is why the best way with our heart work is always, paradoxically, to look at ourselves. What is it that we needed? Great. Who have we become as a result? Great. Two sides of the bridge. Where was I? Where am I now? What helped me get there? Brilliant. This is how I can help other people along the way. And I think it's just a tale old as time, is that pain just unfortunately leads to great purpose.
Yeah, definitely. You can see it in so many examples, can't you? I think even within in our Always Better Than Yesterday community here, people now doing wonderful things to help other people through their own experiences, isn't it? You know, yeah, that's wonderful. And we've got a question from Nathan as well.
So we've got a question for Nathan. Well, I think we'll wrap up with that one. I would like to talk about two more things in the meantime. I want to talk about how David and Jason, our community members, met in a different country. I want to talk about that. I want to talk a little bit about our good friend Anna. And I just wonder whether you want to pose Lilli a question that's on your heart and your mind.
I guess I haven't asked you this actually, but I'm wondering, what is it that you get? Because I've seen you've been posting a few things recently of you sitting and tuning into your voice and your singing. Do you find that it's healing for yourself through those sessions that you also, oh God, I can't speak today, I'm so sorry. Are you also gaining healing yourself through the sessions that you do with other people?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the whole, like Ryan just said it perfectly. We are all fragments of the same thing, and for anyone to think that they have to facilitate the healing of another without receiving that healing back for themselves is missing the magic of what healing is, in my opinion. And that could be ego driven, right? This idea that I am going to heal the world. Like, no, you're healing yourself, and this is how you're doing it. So even when I go back to the origins of Evo, which is my choir, that choir, first of all, I was drawn to the choir because I just wanted to sing. All I ever wanted was to sing. It was all I ever spoke about in school. So when I had the opportunity, I took it. And then when that was threatened because the people didn't want to run it anymore, I, through sheer just panic of not having that community to go to, stood up when no one else did and was like, I'll do it. Absolutely no clue what I was doing. I was not qualified to do it at all. Almost everybody left, but I had to know that I could just go and sing every week. And it had been the first time I'd found my people, right? The other people that wanted to do it. And so as I understand it now, obviously now I still run the choir and I still work in that way, but I also now sing to people for healing purposes. They lie down, they close their eyes, and I sing to them to soothe them. And 100% of the time, that is for me. And it was actually shown to me, this is a huge conversation that probably we won't have it now, but I was raised Christian, so I have very Christian beliefs and I have very strong faith. And then when my human experience led me into a place of challenge, I questioned some of the things I had been told growing up, because it was taught like a fairy tale, or at least that's how I took it. I think I am quite childlike anyway, so it was like, oh, it's a fairy tale, it's amazing, I can just say my prayers and everything will be okay, and if I'm a good person, bad things won't happen. And of course that's not the way that the world is, sadly. What I've understood now, and obviously this was my own understanding, I think I'd misunderstood and thought, oh, if I'm a good person, bad things won't happen. No, that's not it. But if you prioritize your faith, and if you can really find that part inside of you, it will sustain you through the challenges that life will certainly bring. Like, none of us are immune to that. You're never gonna, it's why I have such an issue with anyone that teaches, come and follow my thing and life's gonna be amazing. It can be amazing, and it can be so painful as well. And so through all of that now, when I work with others, whether that's coaching or healing, I believe we are two people whose souls are tethered, and we have found each other because we each have something the other one needs. And when I work with a person, we are channeling divine source energy. I call it God, but if God doesn't resonate with you, you can call it anything you like. But it's that pure intention, it's angelic, it's source, it's pure love, and we channel it together. And yes, the healing goes both ways. The amount of times I've come off a session and the person's gone, oh my God, that was amazing. And I'm like, I was saying the things I needed to hear. And even this session today, I've had a terrible day. Somebody rear-ended my car earlier. Oh, no. And it sent me into a complete tailspin almost immediately of, oh my God, like my life isn't in order, and this is why I'm a mess, because now I can't deal with this. Do you know what I mean? Like, it can spiral so fast. And I thought, I'm coming into my studio, I'm going to sing, and I did, and I felt better. And then I recorded a video, And then I went on Facebook, and here you guys were, and now we're having this conversation, and I feel healed through this conversation, and that's the whole damn point.
100%.
I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, and I was just thinking again then that like community doesn't even have to be a full-on group of people. Like what you just explained was a community of two people having that exchange, and the same experiences and the same energy and everything can happen with just two people. So yeah,
it's an energetic thing, and like this is going to sound possibly profound, but for me, the true community, I found the true community when I turned inward, and when I stopped trying to listen to everybody else. I have sought community in the past from a disempowered place, from a place of I need that community and I have nothing to give. You always have something to give. 100%. You have magic to bring. And when I recognized that in myself, then I was able to create the magic and find the magic as well for myself.
Yeah, I shared on the podcast, I think yesterday, that particularly in a work setting, like belonging is like, I get to add value, but I also feel valued for the value that I add. It's a lot of values, but it's almost like that symbiotic exchange of actually, do you know what, this is there's a common rest in our presence, but there's also like, you've got something to contribute, like, and we will gladly receive that, because like, like you say, there's a bit within the Always Better Than Yesterday community where we're like, come as you are, but leave a little bit better. But it's like, but if you got something, bring it. Like, because we'll be better for it. You'll be better for it. Like in the act of sharing, it feels great. And this is when, you're aligned with the heart work stuff, is that it feels great when you use it, and it feels healing when you experience it. I think there's a reason it's built that way, right? If only more people use that as an intuitive guide as to what we should be doing in the world.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of that, that's what evolution did for me. And I can remember the day somebody sat me down and told me that evolution had changed their life. And I was like, what? Like, I genuinely just thought that I was selfishly running this choir for myself. So to hear someone else was getting something from it, like Abbie's like, she looks like the Churchill dog. Spot. But, it was
it's a sweet spot.
It was a sweet spot. But the crazy thing is, I have spent so much of my adult life trying to cultivate something that brings me that level of joy, and all the while I had it. And I think this is something I'm so passionate about. The chances are you have it in your life already. It will be the thing you created without even thinking. Like, you are being guided all the time. And when I look back now on what I've built and what I've got here, I can't actually take the credit. All the good stuff, I feel like I can't take the credit for, really, other than I followed the call and I allowed it to come through. Everything I tried to do from my mind was rubbish and didn't go anywhere. And the things that I created because I couldn't not are the things that are not only helping the people in them, but they are huge sources of comfort and healing for me as well. So yeah, in that way, it's like, I don't even know why I tried to do anything, because this is not in my hands. It's not in my hands. We just like to think that it is.
Well, it's the willfulness. I think it's the willingness to. One of my guys, Luke Iorio, he said, go down that river and go push the river. Go fight the life source energy. Go fight that. See how you get on. But I think the willingness to go with where that energy wants to go, it just makes more things possible, and it just transcends this little nugget. And anyway, let's bring it home. I'm conscious that we've gone over a little bit of time. If people are expecting a half an hour session, it's gone where it needed to go today. Abbie, last year you went to New York. You met up with a community member, Kiara, and it's amazing what happens when. And this is where I think community is really powerful, because when you become part of the community, particularly with Always Better Than Yesterday, I've made it to a point where you push the button. I don't really want to spam invite people. I want you to push the button, because in some way you're saying, yes, I want to be part of this. Like, I resonate at a heart and mind level that I am part of this community. So there's something that goes into this. Okay, there's almost a belief or an expectation that this is who we are, right? That's informed by the words we say, the actions that we have. But then you have to then go and experience that person. So it's like, okay, cool. I think these are my people. and then you go meet them in real life, and then it's like, I want you to reflect on your experience with Kiara, because I've also just spoken with Jason. Jason is in Texas and David is in Nashville, and they just met in Denver at an airport, right? Two guys from our community started here in the southwest of England, meeting in Denver from two different states. Like, that blows my mind. And they said they had an incredible conversation. They were like brothers, and like they were connected through our community. What's it like meeting someone for the first time where you have met here first?
Well, that was the thing. Like, we'd totally forgotten that we didn't really know one another. It didn't even cross our minds. We were like, we met up in this like deli, and I was already wandering around, and then all of a sudden I just clocked her, and our face, I think if someone could have seen our faces, they would have thought we were just like either family or like friends that had known each other for years and were reconnecting, or something like that. We just lit up, and it's the energy again, isn't it? It was just an energy, and we like hugged and we held each other for probably what some people think an abnormal amount of time before we actually let go.
Very creepy.
And then we had just the best time. We were just non-stop chatting, and it was just like, yeah, like we probably chatted yesterday or something, and we were just catching up again. And then at the end, when we had to say goodbye, we were bawling our eyes out. It was like there was something about that I mean, it won't end obviously, but there was something about that having to come to an end at that point that day that neither of us were really ready for and were wanting to experience. There was there was just such a happiness, a joy, a connection, and it baffles me still to this day, and I say it to her all the time, but that, you know, the fact that we had only seen each other online in some of our calls, and the fact that she just noticed that I was going to New York and said, oh, shall we meet up? And I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. And then, a
deeper knowing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Love that. Lilli, thank you for being here. Marcella, thank you for being here. Nathan, thank you for your question. We're going to get Abbie to reflect on that just to leave. Before we do that, I just want to shout out our great friend Anna Sanborn. Anna was on our podcast August 2018. She's episode 9. She's been a very, very good friend of the show. She's been a great member of our community. She has been a Master Heart and Mind member for several years. Sadly, Anna, shortly after finishing a half marathon or a marathon, one of the two, because she is literally Superwoman, she has been diagnosed with breast cancer. So Anna, we send our love from our whole community, not just the people on the screen, but you know, your friends in our community worldwide. We send you lots of love, lots of healing, lots of strength. We know that you are an overcomer. We know that you've had 2 near-death experiences before the age of 30, and you've overcome those. And this is just another chapter in your story, my friend. And we're here every step of the way, cheering you on. Abbie, you see us out.
Yeah, so Nathan has asked his question today. Who are the people I know I want in my life, and are my actions showing those people that is true?
Something for us all to reflect on, right? Say that one more time.
So, who are the people I know I want in my life, and are my actions showing those people that is true? Good question as always, Nathan. Thank you.
Great, Nathan. Thank you for those questions. I'm going to go away and reflect on those, because my instinct has revealed some areas of my life where that's for further contemplation. But thank you for that, brother. Thank you for showing up as always. Lilli, do you have any final comments and questions before we wrap up?
No, just thank you so much for today. Thank you for the work that you're doing. And I think what you were just talking about, that connection that you had with your friend over in New York, it's that energetic connection that binds us all, and it's what transcends life itself as well. And I lost one of my dear friends a few years ago, and I feel like I still have that connection with her. And I think that's the true community, right? It's from the heart and it's soul, and it transcends time and space and all the things. So I'm here for more of that for sure.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Abbie, bring us home, wrap it up.
Go find your community, or go build your community. If you haven't got one that resonates with you, go build it, and we're all here for it.
Happy days. See you next time, guys.
Take care. Bye.